Before we get started on today's show, let me tell you the podcast is brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. It's a chilly one out, so come by, get a lunch special. $4.99 today, Brunswick stew, 2 sides bread, 32-ounce drink, maybe on a Friday night. Don't want to cook? Ribs, wet or dry. Stop by and pick them up. Call ahead, and they'll be wrapped up, ready to go there for you at the Blue Sky Oxford Exxon Mobile Rewards app, Speed Pass Plus app. Plenty of ways to save money. Make your day easier with the Oxford Exxon and Blue Sky. And coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio, 662-257-1900, Highway 25 South in Amory. Give Corey Clark a call. You know by now that you'll get a quote within 15 minutes during business hours. Shop it around, take it. Whatever you'd like to do with it. At the end, you're going to come back to Clark Ford. You're going to sign some papers. Tell them about the podcast. $500 off. Even better of a deal there at Clark Ford. Now on to the show.
From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something that you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome to this Friday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio this morning. Pretty big weekend in Oxford this week, as a lot of stuff going on, a lot of official visitors, a lot of recruiting going on, as it is the major weekend prior to the traditional signing day, the secondary signing day now that so much happens around the week before Christmas. However, leading up to the February signing day, a lot of guys in town in Oxford. We'll have coverage of that at rebelgrove.com. Ole Miss and Iowa State, the first ever matchup between two top 25 teams at the Pavilion Saturday, 11 a.m. A powder blew out for that one. Saw that on Twitter leading up to the day. We'll tell you more about that later as we go on. And then baseball practice starting today, as is a tradition that starts when there's frost all over the place and the temperature's in the 30s. So baseball practice later today as well. Got content up at rebelgrove.com. Other podcasts, Greatest Pod in the South, Soft Verbal, presented by Dead Soxy, the Oxford Crystal Beer Garden. All those podcasts up for you today at rebelgrove.com. So take your pick, listen to them all. Our entire MPW digital family of podcasts available for your perusal at your discretion and the time that you do have. So a little bit of everything this morning there. Got some questions for you guys. We'll run through some of those today. Probably a little bit of your typical Friday podcast as well. So anyway, that's where we will kick it off. Who are our guests on the other podcast? What's going on with those, Neal, as we get started?
Oh, there it is.
Mic's on.
It's on now. The Greatest Pod in the South is up. Jay and Gabe and I talked for an hour and 15 minutes, did some really hard-hitting sports talk.
I flipped it on just to hear a little bit. All I got out of it was that you have nerve issues and Jay hates cocktails. That was as far as I had gotten this morning.
Yeah, but we lots of hard-hitting sports talk on that particular show. The Soft Verbal, presented by Dead Soxy, is up. We talk 45 minutes of almost exclusively Ole Miss football recruiting. We very briefly talk about Victor Oladipo's injury because the news broke as we were taping. But it's of the 45 minutes, it's probably 43 minutes of Ole Miss football recruiting. And then on what's the other one? On the Beer Garden. The Beer Garden, presented by Oxford Crystal. I talked to Martin Palomo of Pinnacle Trust. We talk a lot of money things. If you're like me and you're in your late 40s and you're starting to worry about markets and retirement and how you pay for college and all of those kinds of things, it's a podcast for you.
All that up at rebelgrove.com and everywhere else that you get your podcasts. Plenty of those at the time. Kickoff question here. It's probably would be a little better suited for Mr. Johnson. You guys might have even hit on that, but it's an interesting question with the weekend coming up, and it's great the 2019 recruiting cycle overall to this point. And I saw this question this morning when I was not really preparing, but just kind of looking through them, figuring out what I was asking, what I was not asking. And Neal, at least to me, there's two sides of this that butt heads all the time, and it's very hard to figure out exactly where I'll fall. I'll be honest. I have a hard time figuring out even my complete thought process on this because Ole Miss did not have a very good signing period in December. struck out on a lot of Mississippi guys. It was one of the weaker efforts after a lot of years where Ole Miss and State had kept kids home. They no longer did that. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I had run through them with somebody the other day, and there's been a trend moving this direction where they haven't kept some of these kids at home, especially in a class that was at least talked about and pubbed as generational. I mean, who knows? But that's where this thing was taken at the time. So, yes, they struck out, and I don't know. I've never even asked this question. Maybe this is our fault. I never really knew if the Mississippi Made thing was built on in-state prospects or if it was the equivalent of the built by Bama, meaning Ole Miss makes you into the NFL. I never really understood the true context of that. But nonetheless.
I think we both didn't like the hashtag. I remember saying I thought it was a mistake.
I thought it needed clarity. I don't mind it if it's, hey, come here, get Mississippi Made for the NFL. Everybody kind of has that. Like, Built by Bama is the most famous one, but everybody sort of has that deal. I don't hate that. That's cool.
But theirs is very when you see hashtag Built by Bama, it's very clear.
That's my point.
To your point, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Mississippi Made to me says we're recruiting Mississippi kids. That's how I interpret it.
Point being, though, on this other token, Ole Miss 1 year off probation. They're clearly not, or not even on a year, clearly not, for whatever reason, able to play games as well as they have in the past. I mean, just keeping things on a podcast. So you're got the left hand cut off a little bit. I don't know if maybe the expectation to go, hey, they're going to go run through Mississippi was never really feasible to begin with. And I think it's somewhere in the middle here. They should have done better, but I don't know that some of the expectations were possible or feasible to begin with either. So I'm sort of having a hard time putting grades on this because I kind of just come out in the middle at the end of the day on this.
Yeah. So the kids that are signing this year probably – and look, I think fans struggle with this concept, what I'm about to say, and they don't believe it. And I wouldn't have believed it either if I didn't cover recruiting as long as I did. These kids, 17 years old, they didn't start following college football, if they follow it at all, until the last 2 or 3 years. And the last 2 or 3 years, Ole Miss has not been good. They've been in the middle of probation. That probation has been presented to these kids as something that it's not really.
Far more serious than it was.
Yeah, I mean, that. So in the eyes of a lot of these kids, Ole Miss has been this renegade, cheating program that got its head cut off by the NCAA. Went through a disgraceful coaching change, hired a coach that had never been a head coach before, didn't have a big name. And so there's a lot to overcome. And December didn't go well. There's no way around that. I don't know how February is going to ultimately go. You can listen to Russell's thoughts on that on the soft verbal today. It's probably worth a listen. They still have some targets that are out there. They still have some big targets they could finish with, and they have some big targets that obviously they could miss on. And there will be a lot of talk when it's over about, did the Mississippi Made thing work? Did it undercut you, or was it just as simple as you couldn't play the game, which is my theory, and I think it's probably yours. But I don't know. I don't know that I know enough about the kids to give it a grade. I don't know that I know enough about what it was.
Yeah, we're giving perception grades is all we're doing at this
Yeah,
point.
I mean, I can't give it a grade. I don't know enough about the kids who can do what, who can play. Here's the deal. When you look at this class, it's a program that is really thin in a bunch of spots, and a lot of these kids have to provide depth, if nothing else. They've got to provide quality depth, if nothing else. I've questioned for a long time the Jerry and Ely thing. Like, what are they doing? Is he going to play football? And he's visiting this weekend. I think he's going to Alabama next weekend. So Alabama's spending a last weekend on him tells me that there is at least the possibility in the in the minds of the college football world that he's going to play college football.
Yeah, there is, and I don't know if Ely gets a question later on. I read a thing this morning on Rivals, and the problem with a lot of that reporting, and now look, Ely might play football. I'm not saying he won't. I talked to a bunch of people in baseball circles a few weeks ago that said, well, if he takes a discount, yeah, maybe there's some things there that whatever, but the football world in general is so uneducated on the way baseball works that it's so hard to get any reputable information on that standpoint from anything.
Well, let's be real. The people who cover Clemson are giant Clemson fans. The people who cover Alabama are giant Alabama fans, and they can't even fathom that.
I read some of those paragraphs and went, "That's not how it works. That's
right.
not that's not this."
If he's a top 15 pick, he's going to have to turn down guaranteed wealth to go play college football. And maybe he does. I'm not saying he won't.
And he might bargain with them. I don't know.
He might.
Because teams don't value prospects the same way they used to because they get them back. They get that pick back. So,
right.
He's drafted by the Rangers. The Rangers might go, hey, look, here's 1.8. Take it or leave it because that's the number I can pay you and still get my pick back next year, a la Carter Stewart last summer. Where, hey, have at it. If you want to turn that down, that's your life.
Right.
So I don't know. There's a lot of variables. It's so much more complicated than a paragraph these days with Jerry and Ely, and we'll see.
But there's a decent chance. Yeah, there's a decent chance that a team picking 10th, for example, makes a phone call to him in the day or two before the draft and says, "Okay, so here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Slot is and I'm making numbers up, Chase.
Yeah.
Slot is $3.7 million. We're going to, if you tell us right now that you will take $3.7 million and come play baseball, we're drafting you.
You will not fall below that spot.
We are drafting you with the 11th pick or the 10th pick or the whatever pick in the draft." Now, that's a phone call as a parent that if my kid gets that call, that all the speculation at that point's gone, and you have to have a serious conversation. What are we doing? My gut feeling is that when that conversation occurs, you have to take that money. Because if you invest that money in just a damn savings account, you're going to be okay.
The only reason you don't take that money is if you just don't want to play baseball.
If you just don't want to play and you're willing to bet
that your day-to-day will be miserable if you choose that.
And you're willing to bet on yourself as a football player.
Yeah.
And football player bets can
boom or bust.
Boom or bust. Because
it worked for Sinquez.
Look at Victor Oladipo.
It didn't work for a lot of people.
Look at Victor Oladipo the other day. The human body fails. So are you willing to roll that dice? And no, you're not going to get an insurance policy that guarantees you $4 million.
Moving through the questions a little bit, a couple baseball here. If Cooper Johnson's defense is the same as last year, who steps in, or is the cemented starter period? I don't know. That's a problem for Ole Miss. It kind of dovetails on the next question, which is the most important player for Ole Miss this season. I think it's Cooper Johnson. There's no clear answer beyond him. He's in his third year. He's incredibly talented. He needs to put it together. He had a pretty good summer. He had a great fall. It's time to go make some money on his behalf. If he's got the draft this summer, he's probably going to go. And he's the guy that could swing in the draft so many different ways depending on what he does this season all the way around, the way he acts, the maturity level that he has shown that has improved since he's been in Oxford. Because you look behind him, and the backup is probably a freshman named Knox Leposer. Broke his foot right before Christmas. Not even healthy right now. I think he will be by opening day. And then you've got Thomas Dillard, who they're probably going to catch some. It's not his best position. He's not flexible enough to probably play it at the next level. He's worked on it in the Cape. He's worked on some other places. And he's going to have to do it a little just by necessity because one guy can't catch 56 games in a row. He just can't do it. But, no, this is Cooper's show, and for Ole Miss to max out their ability this season, I think he's got to play and play well. For Ole Miss to have their best 9 on the field, that includes Cooper Johnson at catcher. There's just no doubt about that. So,
and he doesn't have to hit much to be a high draft pick.
Well, and he frankly has to hit less even for the team than maybe last year because there's not really another offensive hole. You can have one spot where, hey, let's just give me some quality at bats. Don't strike out too much and just hit some ground balls or something.
Yeah.
Just don't do anything crazy up there, and we're all right.
The major league guys are going to look at him, and they're going to look at his pitch framing.
Which has got to improve. That was a big negative last year for him.
They're going to look at his ability to control the running game and go from there. But you You can get a job on a major league roster for 10 to 12 years and be a very light hitter.
Yeah, if you told Ole Miss, look, he's going to be the best defensive catcher in the nation, but he's going to hit 235, done.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Done.
Absolutely. Maybe hit 205.
Yeah. Don't care, fine.
Yeah.
Take it.
Steal a strike here and there. Control the running game. Keep balls in front of you. That I think Mike would take that.
So he's the most important. I mean, and then on the other side, I could pick 10 other guys, but Cooper's by far the one that I would stick with. I mean, you can read it about rebelgrove.com. I think there's about 6 players fighting for about 3 spots, and you just need the majority of them to have the year that's expected. You can have a couple that's not going to work out, because there's always a couple that don't work out, but have the year that's expected with some other ones. Where would you travel if you won some sweepstakes or something anywhere in the world? I think Neal would go to some island somewhere. I actually would like to take a Europe trip. I've never done that. I've never been over there. I'd like to do the Italy, France kind of rotation thing.
Yeah, I'd like to do all that too. I doubt I ever go to Europe. I doubt I'll ever have the time or the resources really to go. I'd love to go. I don't anticipate going. Yeah, I wouldn't mind an island. Just chill.
I mean, I think I'll probably at some point do like a Scotland or Ireland golf trip just to do it once, but that doesn't really get me to the other places just because of the way that works. So I don't. Yeah, my guess says I never do that, but just knowing myself.
Yeah, and knowing what I know about just cost and stuff, I'd guess that I'll never do that. There's no. I mean, I'd love to go to Australia. I'm never going to go. I'd love to go to Italy, Germany.
Germany, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
But realistically, I never will.
If money and work weren't factors, where would you both desire to live? Has to be a year-round residence. You pick Chicago?
Think about it. I think about it.
Again, if money weren't a factor, meaning you live wherever in this area you wanted, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'd pick some place probably in the Midwest like that. Yeah, probably so. Or, I don't know. If money's not a factor, meaning I've got all the money I could want, I might live in
Carmel or something.
Yeah, I might go like Central California somewhere. I mean, yeah, where the weather's fantastic.
Where you're not worried about the taxes and everything.
Yeah, I mean, if money's not a factor, that implies that I've got whatever.
It'd be hard to turn down somewhere out in that area.
Yeah, I probably would go there because if money's not a factor, I can fly to Chicago. Go see
get
the
there
Cubs
if you need
whatever.
to for a weekend.
Yeah. I like Chicago. I do, and I know the winters are brutal, but the summers are great. I like cities because there's just more stuff. But, I've never I lived in Birmingham and I lived in Mobile, so that's about as big of a city as I've lived in.
In a lot of ways, yeah. You haven't had, there because it's anywhere you live. You hadn't dealt with the negatives of that for whatever they are, probably. Right. That would be a big city.
I mean, I fought 280 every day for a couple of years, so I do know what that's generally like.
I was thinking more of like you're probably not having a car or public transportation walking around type of big city was more of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like the way Hogan deals with D.C. every week and things like that.
I will say I've told Carson several times, and I think he listens, because he said talk about Chicago and he liked D.C. and stuff. And I said, if you're young and single, it'd be fun to live in a place like that. You get older, it might not be because it's different to raise a family in a place like that or whatever, just because of expense and all that. But you're 24 years old and single,
make that work.
Live in a place like Chicago or whatever, that'd be a lot of opportunity. And I don't mean just dating. I mean just in general. There's a lot to do as opposed to being in a small town or whatever.
Take a break in the podcast, tell you about scripted jewelry. Remember to just go to the website, see all the different ways they can make gift buying easy for you, from sizing guides to lookbooks, even the pop-up showing what people have bought recently to give you some ideas, celebrating love, family memories, and giving the best gifts. Put your script, put your John Hancock, put a message on some jewelry, put some fingerprints, make it personal for that special someone in your life. Still got time before Valentine's Day. Still got 4, 5, 6 days with no rush, and then with even the rush ordering, go all the way up to February 6th to get that gift done and get it to yourself prior to Valentine's Day. Again, that's scriptedjewelry.com.
We got into the discussion on greatest spot in the South. Jay's an interesting human being, putting it mildly, and he was talking about the woman on what's her name? God, dog it. Let me find it. Jay has his theory about Alex Garnaschelli.
Yeah.
He says she would be the Food Network personality who would treat you extra good.
Really?
If you gave her some attention and appreciated her. And Jay likes all of her quirks.
Okay.
And both Gabe and I were both kind of like, really? That's who you'd pick? And so there's a thread on the board that is
spawned from that.
Well, it spawned from that because of the Giada De Laurentiis.
Yeah.
The debate about whether she'd really be worth it or not.
People like to watch her cut onions.
Yeah. When she chops onions, it's good television. I do think she's high maintenance. Okay. Probably very high maintenance.
Yeah.
So there's a debate about whether there's a valuation of that.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The podcast also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX legacy realty agent. He's been in Oxford more than 4 decades. No one knows the residential and condo market in Oxford better than Harry. Go to his site. He'll prove it to you. HarryAlexander.com. Click on the Properties and Neighborhoods tab. Filter through by what you're looking for. Send him an email, ha@harryalexander.com. We're also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, Grenada Nissan's the place to go. They have a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. It's great service after the sale. They're great people. They've supported us for a long time. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, you should check them out. GrenadaNissanUSA.com. Guest join us on the Patterson and Earhart hotline. Patterson and Earhart, attorneys at law, specialize in personal injury law and real estate law, but theirs is a general practice that can handle any of your legal needs. When you contact Patterson and Earhart, you speak to one of the partners in the firm, and that's who'll handle your case, not some paralegal at a faceless corporate firm. If Patterson and Earhart can't help you, they'll refer you to someone who can. John Calvin Patterson and Wes Earhart are Ole Miss guys. They're local guys, and when you call them, you're going to get one of them on the phone, guaranteed, in the same day. So whether you've been injured in a car wreck or have other legal issues, give them a call, 662-526-1992, or check out their website, pelaws.com. Your initial consultation is free.
Podcast is brought to you by G&M Pharmacy. Don't waste your time in the big chains. Go somewhere you are appreciated, locally owned and operate, and care about their customers. Been Oxford's trusted hometown pharmacy for 40 years and offer many great services such as MedSync, immunizations, and free delivery to your home or workplace. Conveniently located right off South Lamar Boulevard in Oxford. So transferring your medications is simple. I've done it. Just give them a call at 662-236-2222. And they will take care of the rest. Staying with the baseball theme, I got a feeling we're going to be on this for several weeks here. Might even be knocking some of these questions out early so we don't get to them later. He said Ole Miss needs to get to a super regional this year. What is the tone of the program if they do not, and there are not significant injuries? Not good. I mean, at that point, it's fair to say you wasted the number 1 recruiting class in the country. One class doesn't do it, but that's the expectation, and that's what needs to happen this year is for them to get to at least a super regional. They need to get that stat out of there that I mentioned yesterday of 1 super regional since 2009. That's a problem for a program like Ole Miss. It needs to be better. And then the other thing I said too, and that this is not this year because this team needs to host. They need to be very good throughout the year, and then they need to get to super regionals. They need to be a front runner. But in general, it's not the best teams that have been the problem for Ole Miss, in my opinion. Yeah, some of them haven't worked out for a lot of different reasons, and we've been over that. It's that Ole Miss has never made the super regional round as a 2 seed. A lot of SEC schools have made hay from a program standpoint of, hey, I'm going to go beat the ACC one. I'm going to go beat the Big 12 one. I'm going to go take advantage of some of these situations. And Ole Miss has never done that. Ole Miss has never won a regional away from home. They obviously won the super regional in Lafayette, but from the regional standpoint, never away from home. So, yeah, it would be bad. There's no doubt. I think that is the baseline of what makes this season a success for Ole Miss is the super regional round.
Probably true.
Yeah, I mean, you lose another regional, and you've squandered that group. I mean, there's no other way around that.
Yeah, it'd be disappointing. There's no question about that. Where people start with the fire Bianco thing after that is we've had that discussion so many times that it's fast become one of those.
Let me ask this hypothetical. I mean, because at some point there are some different questions. You extend him again? He doesn't win a regional?
What's the rest of it look like? Were they hosting a regional?
Either way, I don't care.
Well, I mean, if
you don't host a regional, though, that means you've lost your home regional 3 out of 4 years.
Yeah, no, I mean, if he doesn't host a regional this year, no, I think you have to have a conversation about whether or not it's prudent to extend him. If he hosts a regional, it's like a national seed again, and then doesn't win the regional, it's you still have to evaluate the entire body of work, which is.
At what point does not advancing become an issue for you if you're an athletic director?
Here's the honest answer.
Because it can't be never, but then.
Here's the honest answer if I'm the athletics director. I'm not firing somebody until I know, and I mean know, that I can get someone better. And then this is where I disagree with a lot of Ole Miss people, and I do it respectfully. It's a good job. It's a good job. It's a great facility. It's a great fan base. It's all of that stuff. But I do question how many coaches would look at it and go, I got to tell you now, I'm a little concerned about the fact that I'm not on an even playing field. A little concerned. And if the expectation is super regional or bust, that's a hell of a high. And I'm going to get more of the emails that I got yesterday with the people that go, you don't get it, and you don't understand, and you're an apologist and all of that stuff. And I'm not trying to do any of that stuff. I've said before, I like Mike Bianco, but Mike and I have never once had a social interaction of any sort. We don't know each other. I like him. I respect him. Seems like a really good person. I hear nothing but good things about him as a coach, as a man, as a father, as a husband, all of those things. So I like him, but I don't know him. So I'm not indebted to him in any way. I just would be cautious if I were Ole Miss, looking at his body of work, wondering,
oh, yeah.
Are there better coaches? Yes. Can I get them? I don't know. Would Tim Corbin, for example, would he do any better than Mike has done at Ole Miss if he were at Ole Miss with the limitations that Mike has? I don't know.
It's a very complicated deal. And I mean, I'm not going to spend the whole time on the podcast today because we're going to be discussing it for 4 months. I mean, and it's where, I mean, he don't mind me saying his name. I mean, like we were both talking to Sam Wells on Twitter last night. And I understand the fan angst from the standpoint of once a roster is assembled and you're a national seed, in that finite season, the scholarship thing's irrelevant because the roster's there. It's already done. So that's why I got back to go win as a 2 sometimes. Do some things like State did. State often goes and wins regionals as 2s or has more than Ole Miss at least. I mean, it's those kind of things. And, from who the next coach is at Ole Miss, whether it's in 2 years or in 12 years, there's a lot of guys you can't get. It's been evened a little bit because of money and just because of program whatever. I mean, had Ole Miss had an opening, I mean, Chris Lemonis was a guy I've been talking about for years. He ends up getting the state job, came from Indiana. He was a train wreck and a disaster, but Auburn did hire Sonny Galloway, who came from Oklahoma and was a very respected coach on the field. He was a nut job off the field.
Yeah,
but
he failed.
Yeah,
right.
Oh yeah, failed
right.
big time. Yeah, a lot of guys fail. I mean, that's the answer here. But you can't be scared of that. But no. We're nowhere near this conversation. I mean, we're having this in a hypothetical nature of no fewer than 3 to 4 years, in my opinion. I mean,
flip side of this conversation, as Jeffrey likes to say, is if they went to Omaha this year, I think Mike's safe for as long as he wants to be.
Whole thing resets.
Safe for as long as he wants to be. My only point about it is if at any point you get to a place where it's Omaha or bust as an evaluation tool, you're all screwed up.
Oh, yeah. Never.
You just can't do that at anywhere, in my opinion. But you sure can't do it.
LSU did it. And frankly, they did it not even winning enough because Smoke Laval goes twice in 4 years and gets fired.
Yeah.
And they I'm not going to say lucked into, but they ended up with Maneri, who's been an excellent fit in Baton Rouge.
He has the exact perfect personality.
And I don't know that LSU would do that now. Smoke Laval was the post-Nick Saban guy. He replaced Skip Burtman when everybody was psycho and insane at that moment. So a little bit of that going on.
Smoke
too.
was in Monroe when I was in graduate school, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was more to that than just baseball.
Just on-field performance.
Leave it at that.
Fair enough.
Nothing terrible. Just
Yeah. Thoughts on Ole Miss already lowering ticket prices for the South End Zone. How bad do you expect season ticket sales to be? Do you anticipate more discount ticket promos, mini packages? I saw that. I didn't mind it. They're leaving the price the same on the sidelines.
You want a hot take?
Lowering it. Yeah, sure.
They're going to do this everywhere. This is going to happen everywhere. You're going to see buy one, get one free at a lot of places.
So you're definitely going to see some mini packs over the course of the year. No doubt about that.
Look, we've talked about this before. Take Ole Miss out of it. Pick another school, Chase. Any school. Go for it.
Oklahoma State.
Okay. That's a good one. You go to Stillwater for the day. So you live in Tulsa, or you live in Oklahoma City, or you live in Dallas, or whatnot, and you got to go to Stillwater for a game. You got to load up the family. You got to get a hotel room. You got to buy rest. You got to buy food and stuff. You got to check out a school. All those things. You got to drive back on Sunday and go to the grocery store and get ready for another week. The game lasts 5 freaking hours. It's hot, it's cold, it's whatever. It's so much easier to watch the damn thing on television. It's just harder to get regular people to come to games. So you're going to see more promotions.
This is smart. This is not just because of wins and losses. And frankly, this is what hit the rest of the country a decade ago, and the SEC was just insulated from it. It took longer to get here for the SEC, but we're here now. I mean, Scott Strickland at Florida says they want to minimize Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. They want to shrink it. Everybody's going, hey, more premium seating, less overall seating. I mean, if Ole Miss built a new stadium right now, I saw the message board thread. I think they're right. I think that's if you started over, I think you'd be 50 to 55,000 and premium seats everywhere.
Oh yeah, I think
like Stanford.
I think closer to 50 than 55. I do. I don't think you'd build.
Make it a tougher ticket, put plenty of club level stuff in, and call it a day.
Like if you told
and make it symmetrical. Thanks.
If you put truth serum into the people in Knoxville, so what do y'all want to do with this thing? Oh, we'd like to take
let it cut it in half.
We'd like to take about 25 to 30,000 seats out.
Yeah.
We'd like to make it more intimate.
We'd like to smush it.
Yep. Add more corporate stuff. Add more premium stuff. Add more faux premium stuff.
LSU's had some rough-looking crowds in the last year or two. I mean, Bama's been the only one that's...
I know for a fact that LSU did that add-on thing a few years ago, and they already regret it. I know it for a fact. Now, they improved the stadium, and they did add more premium stuff, and they added more revenue streams, but the stadium's too damn big.
Yeah. I think you're right. All right. What's the craziest Ole Miss-related email you ever gotten or face-to-face confrontation over something you've written and said? Let's see.
Tunsil.
That thing at wherever restaurant you're at?
Bure.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Most of the time, people won't actually do anything negative to your face.
Yeah, most of the negative stuff that gets done to me gets done behind my back.
I did have a situation, this has probably been several years ago, where an MSU media member told a high school head coach something I had written and spun it around, which caused me to get calls from that head coach and ruin my day for a day or so.
I remember that.
Yeah, I had that going on.
That's the weirdest beat in the league.
Yeah, that was strange.
The Steve Robertson thing, the
Stark villain.
I'm gonna be honest here. I don't know anybody in Mississippi State. And I'm giving Steve the attention that he's probably craving right now. I don't know how they credential that. How do you justify credentialing that?
I don't know.
This isn't about his writing a book. Anybody can write a book that wants to write a book. You want to write a book? Write a book. You want to get the book published and you want to self-publish your book?
Right, whatever you want to say. Have at it.
Self-publish your book. This is America. We have a First Amendment. You want to write a book? Write a book.
Yeah.
I am never going to criticize him writing a book. Now, I'll criticize the book, but I'm not going to criticize the writing of the book. That's beside the point. But now he's made it very clear who he is and what his goal is. I question why 24/7 employs him when you're supposed to be a quasi. Now this applies beyond him. But how does Mississippi State as an institution credential him? Knowing he's calling recruits.
When Brandon Walker's credential was in question for just making the Iowa comment, I think, a couple weeks ago.
The thing with Robertson is a bigger deal because of he's calling recruits.
Yeah. This was not me directly, but it did kind of creep me out when I was in college. When I was sports editor of the DEM, there was hate mail and all these things going to one of my writers, and we realized that it did not have stamps on it. It was showing up in the mailbox hand-delivered when I was at the DEM. That was kind of creepy.
We got some stuff when I was in Mobile when I was doing the T. Martin story. We got some stuff from Tennessee people.
Little crazy.
That was pretty crazy.
A little crazy.
Yeah.
Occasionally you'll get the psychos that write on. Usually it's always too yellow legal paper for some reason. That's their mode.
I remember meeting my source who was giving me the Western Union receipts to prove that the money had changed hands.
Yeah.
In a parking lot of a car dealership at night.
It's a little creepy.
It was real creepy. I can remember thinking, God, this is not the way I want to die.
This is not worth this.
Yeah, thinking, is this story really worth it? And in my mind going, no. And then when you got that story and you ask for comment and you realize the SEC is basically saying, this is back in the, I guess it's like the Roy Kramer days, we're not doing jack. Nothing's happening. But really?
A little Wild West at that moment.
Yeah. I kind of felt like I was writing something that was going to be transcendent.
Instead, you were Southwest Conference, SMU days around here. We're just chilling. It's still the craziest story ever because, I mean, people are fairly smart about it now. Back then, just a documented peril. Just a book with all the payments in it.
And the middleman was a sports writer on our staff. There's our Saints beat writer.
Was it really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
No kidding. Wayne Rowe.
He was facilitating.
Yep. As that story broke and we started figuring it out, I was like, Son of a bitch. Really?
God. All right. Back to baseball quickly. Does a freshman get into the everyday lineup? Probably not. This is a really experienced team. I can't think of a freshman that's going to break in and play every day. Weekend rotation, sure. At some point, there is a freshman that will start a weekend game this season. I would think Gunnar Hoglund leads the list, but I really like Doug Nikhazy. And then as I wrote this morning, I think Caleb Hill might have the highest upside of any of these guys, but it might take a little longer to do that. And then I like Josh Hall to be a runner, be an outfield reserve. He's the guy that broke the national stolen base record for high school, kid from Alabama. He's talented. He can find a way. He's a great bunter. And then, all those kids are going to throw out of the bullpen. I mean, they're going to need guys. I mean, you got Caracci and Shofi with kind of roles, and then they got to figure out how to best use Greer Holston. Otherwise, it's a lot of newcomers for Ole Miss. So yeah, there's plenty of possibilities there. There's going to be some newcomers that do play as they move forward. Podcast brought to you in part by Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting processing is done in Memphis. So you're getting local underwriting that understands your market. A leader in condo financing and the float down option. You can find Jason at 662-234-2704 or JLowe, JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
Sorry, I got distracted by something there. On Tuesday, January the 29th, Pinnacle Trust will be hosting their annual economic forecast in Jackson at the Country Club of Jackson. Doors open at 5. Join the Pinnacle team for cocktails and appetizers at 5. The program begins at 6. Will end promptly at 7. Goldman Sachs economist John Tousley will be highlighting the current state of global economy and financial markets. The Pinnacle Trust investment team We'll cover topics ranging from geopolitical risk to tariff negotiations and the Federal Reserve. For those unable to attend, the event will be recorded and made available on the Pinnacle Trust website, pintrust.com. For reservations, email assistant@pintrust.com or call the office 601-957-0323. Podcast also brought to you by the Westin Jackson. Restore serenity to your soul at Soul Spa. And then head over to Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro. Sip on a creative craft cocktail or enjoy their curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Chef Caden's mission is to connect guests with the community through local partnerships. Gather at Estelle tonight. The podcast also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. I told you how this works, and a lot of you had done it. And it's really cool because you're not on the hook for anything until you commit to something. What you do is you call John and you say, here's what I had in mind. I want to take this trip to Scotland or England. I want to go play golf, me and some guys. And we're going to see what's affordable and what isn't. Here's our budget. Here's our time frame. And then you just sit back and let him give you some options, and he will. He'll give you options that you will not find on your own because you're not part of Virtuoso, and he is. Among other reasons, he really is experienced as a traveler. So do that. Give him a call, 901-494-3387, or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast.
Podcast is brought to you by Mastercuts Lawn and Landscape, 662-607-7773. Get ready for 2019. By signing a contract, letting them handle all your yard care for the year. You can get a free quote by giving them a call there or emailing them at info@gomastercuts.com. They build structures, fences, decks, playgrounds, and just handle normal upkeep, which they do for me and have for a long time. Again, that's 662-607-7773. I have no idea if the Bjork-Sankey-Cohen meeting is happening or not, or has happened or not, I should say. Neil,
no clue.
No clue?
No clue.
Golf-related, what's in the bag for 2019? Look, it's January 25th, and it's an addiction. I think I can go the entire year without buying any new clubs. I don't think I'm replacing or buying anything in 2019. I went to the Callaway Rogue driver at the end of last year. Got rid of the Titleist 917, but other than maybe replacing some wedges, just because of wear, which I'm using Cleveland RTXs for that. I don't think so. I think I'm pretty set right now with clubs. Still using the Peretti putter and whatnot. So yeah, that's the hope. I'm hoping that if I spend money, it's for playing or things like that, and not just to buy new clubs, because it is the Indian and not the Arrow. It is the player. So
this is true.
It is very true. Yes, just saying. That new set of irons is not going to improve my game by 10 shots, most likely.
No.
Might give me some confidence, but that's about it.
It might make it when you do hit the ball well.
It'll feel great. It'll
do better than if you were using bad clubs hitting the ball well. But if you're using great clubs hitting the ball poorly, it's really not going to matter.
No. If you're bad, you're bad.
That's a rule.
That's a rule. Well, golfer wins their first major this year. He's calling Bo Hostler. I'm going to go with Xander Schauffele. Already one time or two. Really good. I think he's in that next group. So I'll go with Xander Schauffele. Neil, have you ever watched the Flavor of Love show? If not, would you watch and compare it to The Bachelor?
I have not watched it. I watched the season 1 of the parody of The Bachelor called Burning Love, which was freaking fantastic.
Ooh.
It was great.
Was it?
Oh, my God. I laughed so hard so many times.
Jeffrey had
fireman,
to make yeah.
And instead of giving him a rose, he would say, "Will you accept my hose?"
Oh God!
So many times it was just so good, and it was great. It was a great show. It was produced by Sandler, I think was one of the.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember. It was really funny, really well done.
Jeffrey had to make a statement yesterday that his that Aaliyah is not actually one of the people that we mentioned on the show yesterday. So
he said there will be no further comment at this time. It has come to my attention that I need to issue a statement.
Yes. Clarification is in order as we move on. With
There will be no further comment at this time.
Oh, gosh. Today would have been Steve Prefontaine's 68th birthday. Neil, have you ever watched either one of those two movies?
I did watch one of them.
Yeah, it's the one. It's let's see. It's the one with Jared Leto and Arlie Armory that I've seen. It was good. It's fine. No problems with it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I watched it. It was fine.
Dylan being a jerk today. Should all blown calls be considered when they're reviewing the outcome of a game, or just the most egregious instance? Not asking about any game in particular.
Okay, but I do think this is. He's clearly trying to have some fun with you, but at the same time, I do think this is what's interesting. I think there's a better way to do replay, especially at the college level. I hate the college replay system, where they just blow the whistle 52 times into the previous play is under review. Make it part of strategy. The NFL's closer to having it right. Make it part of strategy and include, hey, you missed a holding. You missed pass interference. You missed whatever. Let that get reviewed. You get two challenges. Mm-hmm. And if you're right, you keep your challenges. But if you miss one, now you're down to one challenge.
Yeah, of course.
And you miss it, and now you're down to no challenges. And then if the Saints-Rams play happens and you're out of challenges and it doesn't get called on the field, well, you're screwed, and you shouldn't have challenged those. More strategy. Include coaching in it a little bit more. And I think it would speed the game up.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Quick fire here. Best meat other than steak. He says scallops. A well-cooked scallop is a work of art.
Yes.
Fresh lobster is really high for me. I mean, I hardly ever have it, but
fresh caught tuna.
Oh yeah, that actually might be the answer. That might be the answer.
Very fresh caught, like that day.
Like watched it get sliced.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Does the NFL change the challenge rule to include penalties prior to next year? I'm going to go no. I think it's going to take another year or two.
I'm going to go yes.
Okay. Gun to your head, does Ole Miss go dancing? No.
No.
Gun to your head, does Ole Miss make it to Omaha?
I'd go Omaha before I'd go dancing.
Well, yeah. But that should not be the comparison.
No, of course not. I'm going to go yes.
I think they get to a super regional. I don't know. I know
so much of it is the draw once you're at a super regional, but
I need to see it. It's nothing against Will Etheridge. They don't have that dominant ace yet that is guaranteed, and that's the little thing in the back of my head that's just sort of bugging me a little with this team as they get started with practice today. Is they're not the and now look, you don't always have to have it. I see it every year, but there's not the Pomeranz, the Lynn, the Wall, the guy that you go, hey, on Friday, this thing's over.
Right.
So it puts a little more problems on your depth, which they have depth, but
they ought to score a lot of runs, though.
No, their lineup's good. Lineup's really, really, really good.
In a league where there's not a lot of dominant pitching this year.
Biggest recruiting miss in the last decade. Who was the one player the Revs were in the hunt for that would have changed the trajectory of the program? Leo Lewis.
Yeah.
You sign that puppy, and there's some different stuff.
Yep.
Maybe should have offered Farrod Green in like the 7th grade, too, while we're at it. But yeah,
those would be two names that immediately come to mind.
Yeah. Chase, now that we're 5 days post-game, how many times a day do you replay the last 2 minutes of Sunday and overtime? I'm okay. None. I mean, I'm annoyed that I don't get to experience this 2 weeks. That is my frustration right now, but I'm fine. I'm not, whatever.
But the reality of sports fandom is the sun comes up the next day and life goes on.
And I'm busy. I mean, you've kind of heard at least half of it. I'm doing a lot of crap right now. I'm constantly running around on something, so I'm just busy right now, which is good. I mean, I think that would, whatever. If you were a fair carny, what game or stand would you want to run? What are you doing? You want to hang out with a bearded lady for the day?
On the tilt-a-whirl.
God, throwing the ball at the milk cartons and the milk jugs.
The yak woman. She's nothing to look at, but she sure can cook. I don't know. Spreading pixie dust on the tilt-a-whirl.
All right. Is a turtle without a shell homeless or naked?
That's a great question. He's naked.
He's homeless. Where's he living?
Because he doesn't have a shell to live in anymore.
Well, and he's homeless because he's gonna die.
Yeah.
Just because you're naked, you can still live for a while. If you're homeless, your fatality rate rises dramatically.
Yes.
So he's homeless.
Okay.
Fair?
I'm not going to argue. I don't know.
I've
It's
never
a little bit of both, actually.
I've never thought about doing a Saints podcast for fun. That would not be fun to me, even in the slightest. What's something most Southerners love that you can't stand? Can't stand's too strong, but I don't like sweet tea at all.
Banana
I used
pudding.
to, but you don't like bananas, so
So I don't like banana pudding, but I don't like sweet tea either. It's too sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I used to, and I still at Nukes will get Splenda tea.
I haven't tried the Splenda tea.
I like the Splenda tea, but sweet tea is too sweet for me. I don't like grits, really. Now, a really good shrimp and grits, I'm all in. But as far as just like a breakfast food where you're getting the plate with bacon and home fries and grits, no grits. I'm out.
Yeah, I like grits.
I don't eat greens.
But I like the stone ground grits more than the instant grits. You don't eat greens?
No, I don't eat
really?
greens.
Oh, I love greens.
Yeah, don't eat that.
I don't like deviled eggs.
You're opening a restaurant in Oxford. Where's it going, and what kind of food or drink are you serving? I've got an answer to this. I can go first.
Okay.
We've talked about this. I mean, not as in like, hey, somebody's going to open it, but when we were in Charlottesville in 2010 for the regional at Virginia, several days that we were there, because we were there for a while, and there was wacky stuff going on, but nonetheless, it's the stories that David Brandt probably doesn't want told at this point. But went to a really cool bar that was a gourmet burger bar. Did like great burgers and really, really good appetizers, but that was basically it. And you're talking about tons of TVs, tons of draft beers, all that stuff set up. Basically a burger version of Second Line that actually has tons more TVs and taps and everything. You put it in a good area. I think that would hit. Your only problem with it would be is everybody going to come and pay for that at dinner? Because that's what hits some of these places in these high-traffic areas is can you get them there for dinner? But I think you would do a big-time game day stuff. I think it would just be a great bar, and then you would have a food option that would kind of put it over the top there because it was right there in downtown Charlottesville. Charlottesville and Oxford are very similar, and it was hopping. I mean, it was full.
So you're saying you think a legitimate sports bar with real food.
Yeah, not fancy food, good food.
Good food.
Like, hey, I'm going to get my burgers, and I can do sauteed onions, sauteed mushrooms, egg, bacon. It's
good
like
wings.
the thick, like that kind of stuff.
Good nachos.
Yeah, maybe some chicken livers. I mean, we're doing that kind of stuff.
Right. If you put that on the square and you put a lot of TVs, a lot of good beers on tap.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to call names, but there are places in Oxford that make a killing that, frankly, aren't very good. They're just not. Oxford doesn't really. Funky's Lee gets some of the packages and stuff, but it's not a big bar.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious. It would be interesting. Like if you got the NFL Sunday ticket.
I cannot remember the name of it to save my life. Maybe Patrick or David or somebody does.
My only concern with that would be from a commercial standpoint. Yeah, would you kick ass in football season? Sure. Like February, March, April.
I got Ole Miss baseball games. I got 56 of them.
That's true. But you'd have to get the Major League Baseball package.
Saturday at noon, we're going to do crawfish.
Yeah. And get them to go. So the Ole Miss plays at 1, and they come in after the game, and you turn the Red Sox-Tigers game on. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Drink specials, food specials throughout the game. Ole Miss scores 4 runs. Ole Miss does this. You do this.
That's a thought.
Bring your stub in and this and this and this.
That's a thought.
Stop.
Yeah.
Holler at me with your angel investments and your funding, and we'll get right on this.
Yeah. I could think of a podcast that could tape from there.
Could you?
I can.
Got one or two?
Got a few.
All right. Chase, what are your thoughts on Hatley and Amory both being 3A and in separate divisions? Just in general, this is so stupid. You find the teams that are the closest to each other in clusters and put them all in the same division. Stop making anybody travel for stupid high school division games. that one team has to go an hour and a half, 3 hours for division games when there's another team in the same division 5 minutes from your school is stupid.
It's inane.
Yes.
Yes.
Do the entire thing by the cluster of teams closest to them. And yeah, occasionally you're going to run into some other issues, but that's what you do here. This is not rocket science. Neil, give me a floor and a ceiling for wins with the Cubs with the current roster. Everybody's healthy.
Floor, because the division is so good. And the division is really good. Floor is probably about 85, 86 wins. Ceiling this is a team that last year got one win out of Yu Darvish. Brandon Morrow missed the second half of the season. Chris Bryant missed 70 games. And they still won 95 games. So the ceiling is probably 100 wins. If you made me bet, I'd bet more on the floor than I would the ceiling.
Is 88 wins a playoff team?
Probably not. 90 might do it.
Okay.
I mean, the division's really good. St. Louis is better. Milwaukee's very good. Cincinnati is much improved.
Really?
Yes. Pittsburgh's a good team. Has a good pitching staff. The Central's going to be a bear. Will come down to health.
Okay, fair enough. Tell you, got a day or two left in pop-up Oxford, so take advantage of the final things going there. You got the Fiber Arts Festival, kids' activities, crafts, animal visits, and more. Ole Miss men's basketball, obviously, against Iowa State tomorrow at 11 a.m. It's also your chance to meet the 2019 Ole Miss baseball team. They'll be at the Pavilion. You've got some signings. You've got Thacker Mountain Radio Jr. at 6 o'clock on Saturday as well, and then the continuation of the Fiber Arts Festival on Sunday. So, again, see the full calendar events at popupoxfordms.com or visit oxfordms.com/events.
As you mentioned, Ole Miss men's basketball returns to the Pavilion tomorrow. They take on Iowa State in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. Fans are encouraged to wear powder blue for the powder blue out in the Pavilion. Tickets can be purchased by visiting OleMissTix.com. I don't think there are many left, but I think there are a few left, so you can get them at OleMissTix.com. The Ole Miss baseball season, as you probably know if you're listening to the podcast, is right around the corner. Season tickets start at just $150 for the number 13 preseason ranked Diamond Rebels. To purchase, go to OleMissTix.com. The number 12 nationally ranked Ole Miss women's tennis team opens up home play this weekend, Saturday, as they take on Purdue at 11 a.m. inside the William Galtney Indoor Center. Admission is free, and for more info, visit OleMissSports.com. The podcast also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives you the comfort of home, all the benefits the big mega banks provide, all the technology and products you can want, all with the personal touch. When you call OUB, you speak directly with a live person. There's no 10 buttons to push. There's no 5-minute wait. They've got Kasasa. It's an absolute best cash checking account. Customers earn up to 2.5%. They earn 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000. And with Kasasa, ATM fees nationwide are refunded. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured.
First game of the year, who's playing right field and DHing. I don't know. Like I said, you can read about it. You've got a cluster of people. You've got, I think Servideo ends up sticking at second. So let's say you got Cockrell, you got Adams, you got Elko, you got Gendel. You got a lot of guys for basically two spots there. I'll go with DH as Chase Cockrell, and then right field, I'll go Jacob Adams, but it's just a guess. It could easily be Gendel. Elko needs to play. Got 56 games. You got time to figure out the best 9. It'll all work itself out, and it's very possible Mike just platoons for a couple weeks left, right, and whatnot. So there's that. I'm gonna have to see some spring before I even get started on trying to do a starting lineup for football for linemen or linebackers, Mr. McCready. I just know it's so hard right now. I mean, it's almost impossible if you know the truth. There's a cluster of names, but I don't know.
I don't either. Spring football is hard to cover in a regular team. And this is not a regular team right now. They're thin. There's a lot of new faces. There's a lot of new stuff. I don't know. That's just an honest answer.
Yeah. What's the best meal you've ever prepared?
Best meal I've ever prepared?
Yeah, you're much more of the cook than me, so I'll defer.
I've done some stuff with short ribs that were fantastic.
Okay.
Like served with polenta. Really, really good. It was a lot of work.
Was it worth it? It's like one year for one holiday, Kara did like the whole debone a duck thing, and like from just scratch, and did the duck.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it was a little more than we'd bargained for at the time, but it turned out well.
Sometimes I talked about this on the Greatest Pod in the South a little bit yesterday. Sometimes I just enjoy the process of cooking, but I kind of have to be sort of left alone. Like I like cooking in general.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, Jay and them are so wrong, because while there is always a place for a cocktail on the rocks, a great craft cocktail is so much better.
Yes.
Because it
almost
has balance.
always.
That's the whole purpose. That's the deal with that.
And sometimes you just want to pour bourbon over.
And you got to find the one for your taste, obviously. Yeah. But not everybody likes Sazeracs. Not everybody likes this. I mean, you know, there's a lot of really sweet cocktails that people love that I can't even stomach. Just they draw my mouth up.
But like a great margarita I'm in.
Yeah, see, that's your thing. That's more than me.
I mean, in.
Last question: best restaurant experience you've ever had?
I
had a hard time with this because it's not necessarily the food. I mean, one of my favorite things in the world is a group of people that I actually like and really long dinners with courses and wine and everything. I mean, it is one of my favorite activities. And I've had a lot of them in New Orleans over the years where I've got the right group of people and stuff. And you're always just, I mean, vacation in general or trips in general, but especially down there, there's a little more freedom just to kind of relax and chill. Clancy's down there, Pesh. I've had great ones. I've had two experiences, but it's closed now. I had two experiences at Root. One was maybe one of the best meals I've ever had, and the next time was awful. I mean, a 10 and a 0 on Root.
I've been to Root and had a 10. Yeah,
I went at like 2 in the morning or whatever.
Yeah,
that
and it was
morning.
fantastic.
Yeah. I had a great one, and then we went back with Jeffrey. You didn't go. I covered the New Orleans Rivals Camp Series style.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And we went back with Jeffrey, and I was raving about it all week, and it was terrible. I mean, just awful. Pesh was the best experience I ever had with a set menu. Usually I hate those New Year's Eve kind of set menu deals, but New Year's Eve Sugar Bowl year at Pesh was fantastic.
Mark Heim and I went to what's the name of it? Name me the in New Orleans.
Commander's Palace, August.
One of the traditional ones.
I mean, I could go for days.
I can't remember.
Yeah, whatever.
Regardless,
whatever.
We went and had one of those multi-course meals. I had to cover a game that night. I had to cover a game in the Dome that night, and we ate at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And the meal was fantastic, but I was miserable by 7 or 8. I was so full. I remember being in the Dome and you could smell food, and I was like, I really wish this was not here. Yeah, I don't know. There's lots of places.
Yeah, it's the one where they take you at lunch for like let's have a dozen oysters and let's eat the shrimp and roast beef po' boy. And you're like, dude, we're doing dinner at like 6. Like, we got to prioritize a little bit here, right? Yeah. We got to let's figure this out, because you end up at Parkway or somewhere, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna have the surf and turf, which they're gonna do a full roast beef po' boy, then they're gonna put a dozen shrimp on top of that. It's like, well, I got to eat again.
And if later. I eat that at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm done for the day.
No way you're getting
No way I'm eating again that night.
Because that was my favorite part. When we had Jeffrey with us, he does that, and then he orders like a cup of chili on the side too. And I'm like, dude, you better pace. We got a minute here. We're gonna be here for a minute.
Yeah, one thing I've learned about me is I cannot eat with just everybody. Like people that can just consume all day long. I can't. I can drink with a lot of people, but I can't.
You got to prioritize.
I can't keep up eating. Yeah, if I eat a big breakfast, I'm not eating again until that night. Like eating 3 big meals in a day, I literally can't do it. Which begs the question, why the hell are you so fat? But I don't know the answer to that either. So
you've killed your metabolism.
That's probably a lot of it, yeah. But no, I literally can't do it. Like Carson and I ate lunch on Friday in Chicago at 1 o'clock. And that night, I just wasn't hungry. He ate. I just sat and had a glass of wine. And I wasn't trying to starve myself or anything. I just wasn't hungry. Food didn't sound good.
Was he trying to eat the same thing at Italy every time? Or
No. He wanted to go have the pizza the first time.
Okay.
And then he wanted to go back and have the Italian version of a charcuterie plate.
Yeah.
And then the big bowl of pasta.
And a pasta and all that stuff.
Yeah, and he did all of that. Yeah, he ate and ate and ate and ate.
Not necessarily Italy, but just in general, really good pasta.
Hard to beat.
That's up there.
You offer me one meal. I might pick the really good.
Well, if I got the
pasta.
full courses and everything, I think Italian would be real high.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Because I could throw some seafood in there too. I mean,
sure.
You could do the whole deal.
Sure.
Just saying. All right.
A couple of things real quick before we wrap up. Don't forget, starts on Wednesday. So that's January the 30th at 10 a.m. Central Time. Home 2 Suites Oxford is going to open up their football reservations. You can go through the website. You can call the hotel 662-238-3400. Wednesday, January 30th, 10 a.m. Get on the phone. Be a great place to make a home base for your football season, which will be here before you know it. Also, what will be here even before that is Double-Decker Weekend. They still have some availability at Home 2 Suites Oxford for Double-Decker Weekend in April. I don't know the exact date on it. It's late April, I think.
When's that Double-Decker? It's always around the 20th to 25th. Yeah, it's always that weekend.
I think it's a couple of weeks after Grove Bowl weekend. So anyway, that's at Home 2 Suites Oxford. And then if I can get it pulled up, there it is. We've been telling you about Dead Soxy, informing you of new products and opportunities. They're pleased to announce a way for you, the Rebel Grove community, to be part of the process in the creation of new sock concepts. There's still limited quantities of the Rebel sock line available, and in an effort to launch a new line, they are increasing the discount to 30% off all items. As this original Rebel line comes to a conclusion, I should say, as the original Mississippi line comes to a conclusion, don't miss your opportunity to feel the difference a quality sock makes. There will be new concept pictures forthcoming where they really want your honest feedback and input as to what resonates with you. For those of you who tried them, got a single or a couple pairs, now's the time to round out your week's worth with the 30% off. And if you haven't tried Dead Soxy, this would be a really good time to get on there. Order some of the Mississippi line socks, 30% off. You're going to love them. All you have to do is enter promo code Rebel Grove at checkout for 30% off.
Double-Decker is April 26th and 27th, 2019, per the internet.
So 3 weeks after
Grove Bowl is April 6th, I believe.
That is correct.
Yes.
That weekend, whatever date that is. I think the 6th is a Saturday.
Okay. Florida's in town for baseball, and then you got that. So, anyway. All right. Tons of podcasts. Coverage rebelgrove.com. Or as the weekend goes on, it is the biggest recruiting weekend of the year for Ole Miss, at least in 2019, till one later on that'll be bigger, but to this point. So talk to you on Monday.